I got to put it here. I have scribbled notes here that I scribbled down last night or late last night. I believe I have a word for somebody today. Did you enjoy just doing nothing but sing for a little bit? You know, when Saul got troubled, what was it that seemed to calm him down? When David came in and played his harp. And just something about being able to sing to the Lord today. Thank you, band, for helping me so much. Did I hear Gary singing in there somewhere? I heard your voice. A very familiar passage of Scripture that I want you to look at with me. Matthew chapter 14, verse 22-32. And I told you I'm not in no hurry. I'm not going to preach long. I just didn't want to get in a hurry. The very end of the service, that celebration service that we had from Marty. I've never been in a celebration service quite like that one. And but at the very end, it was just a calmness and a peace that came over this family at the very end. There was just the presence of the Lord just spoke to their hearts, and there was such a calmness and a peace. I've asked the Lord to speak a calmness and a peace into somebody's life this morning. I don't know who it is, but I want to speak something into your life today. In Matthew chapter 14, verse 22 through 32, I want to talk to you about what if. Immediately, remember that word. Immediately, now he's just fed the 5,000 and it's over with and it's nighttime. Immediately, he made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowds. After dismissing the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray well into the night. Now, it's important. It's not just a little bit dark. It's well into the night. He was there alone. Meanwhile, the boat was already some distance from land, battered by the waves because the wind was against them. Jesus came toward them walking on the sea very early in the morning. So how long have they been out there in that boat? Very early in the morning. They've been there all night. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and they cried out in fear. Immediately, there's that word again, Jesus spoke to them. Have courage, it is I, don't be afraid. Lord, if it's you, Peter answered him, command me to come on the water. And what did Jesus say? Come. Climbing out of the boat, Peter started walking on the water and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the strength of the wind, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried out, Lord, save me. There's this word again. Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand, caught hold of him, and said to him, you of little faith, why did you doubt? When they got in the boat, the wind ceased. Jesus told his disciples, I want you to go to the other side. Now, on their way, they went against wind. Wind is resistance. Wind is that resistance. So what you have is, you have the word. What did the word say? Go to the other side. Go to the other side. That's exactly what the word said was, go to the other side. If you miss me, I'm back. Go to the other side. I got to stay within the distance of the camera here so everybody can see me. Thanks for joining us today. If you're joining us today on our website, YouTube, or is it on today? Okay, sometime this afternoon you'll be seeing me. Thanks for joining us. So you have the word for them. What was that word? I'll meet you. Just get on, go to the other side. But the wind is against them. So let me tell you this. When you get in situations, and the longer that we have to wait on God to change the situation, the first thing we discover is this element in a storm or a circumstance or a situation, whatever you're going through, we can't control it. How many like to control things? For you that don't care, that's fine. I do. What happens to us sometimes when we get any storms like this and we feel the resistance coming against us, we interpret this resistance as an indication that we should maybe turn around and head back. Come back from the direction we came from. Our tendencies wanted to turn back because we second guess God. I'm learning that it is harder for me to give faith to the what if than to give fear to what if. Amen? Faith is, now fear is faith, but it's attached to the wrong what if. Just like the wind can blow either direction, so can the what ifs. What if, what if? You know, I've asked God many times, what if? What if I do this? The Lord spoke to me one time in a vision. And He said, I want you to get out of the boat. And I responded with, what happens if I get out of the boat? I didn't let Him finish. Will you bless me if I get out of the boat? Will you bless me if I stay in the boat? And He said, it's up to you. You decide. Now you see, we can say, well, what if I do that? What if I step out? Am I going to look like a fool? What if I don't do it? What's going to happen? So I want to show you three things in this story that I discovered that I've never seen before. So I've never talked to you about this before because I just saw it. I saw it this week. I saw it. There are three things I want to share with you from Peter's experience in the storm. The first thing I want to share with you, there were no details, just all there was no details, but just directions. No details, just directions. Peter didn't express faith. He considered possibilities. Now watch that. He did not say, Lord, I know it's you. What did he say? He said, Lord, if it is you. Now, first of all, Peter's never walked on water before. Maybe he need a little coaching. How do you do it? We watched some movie. I don't know what it was about. It was a Christian movie. The guy ends up in a cabin somewhere. But he walked on water. Okay, that movie. And he walked out on, oh, yeah, I got to get back in front of the camera. Thank you, Doc. He walked on water. Let me tell you, after I watched that movie, I cried the whole time while I'm watching it. I went fishing by myself. Do I need to tell you anymore? I mean, I really did. I thought, God, this guy, I know it was television, but he walked on water. My ankles got wet. My knees got wet. I got wet. So I'm going to tell you something. Peter is saying, you know, he didn't say, Lord, I know it's you. He said, if it is you, tell me to come out here and walk on the water. And Peter's never walked on water. So maybe do you put just a little bit of weight on this foot and then hurry up and get a little bit, distribute the weight and kind of take it easy. Don't make big splashes. Just kind of, ease your feet. I don't know how you do it. I can't do it. And so, I know that, but I'm going to tell you that some of the deepest things that God speaks to you is going to seem so simple. And if God is not giving any, now I like details. But if God is not giving you details, ask Him for directions. Sometimes following God is hard for us because it is so simple. With complicated things and what we need from God to move forward in faith. With complicated, it's very simple. Matt was still young. And he said, Papa, God spoke to me. And I just immediately told him, I said, listen, God is just looking for somebody that'll listen. So Matt, don't talk, just listen. And if you listen, He'll talk your ear off. Do I believe that? Oh, yeah. God is just, so see, God has to get me to where my brain quits kind of operating, and it's usually 3 or 4:30 in the morning when I'm dead asleep that He can wake me up and talk to me, that I listen, because most of the time during the day I may not multitask at things, but boy, I can multitask this thinking up here because I'm already thinking the next thing, what am I supposed to be doing, even though before I get here, so I might pass up where I was just supposed to go. Do you do that? I do. All He said to Peter was one word. What was that word? Come. He didn't show him how. Peter discovered that sometimes God is not in the details, just in the directions. And what were the directions? Come. Come. That's all He said to him. Second thing I want to share with you is the command is the confirmation. Oh, Peter is transcending the law of nature. He's walking on water. Oh, God, if you'll just give me a sign, I'll know it's from you. How many's asked God for signs? Oh, don't be ashamed. Nothing wrong with it. We've said in services before, and God would speak to you however He speaks to you, and then what do? Oh, God, if that's really you, let the preacher do something, something, something. Oh, God. I remember when we were going to Brownsville, or we didn't go yet. People were going to, I got to remember to say in front of the camera, people were going to Brownsville, and David was working at Silcrete, and David wanted to go to Brownsville, but he didn't want to go, but he did. You know that oxymoron thing. He wanted to go, but he didn't want to go. But he didn't want us to go with him. He wanted to go with somebody else. And so David, at work, while he's working, was praying, God, let Harley ask me to go. Now see, to David, Harley was probably the most ranked sinner that he probably knew. Is that a kind way to put it? Well, he probably wasn't that bad. But David thought there's no way Harley would come and ask him to go to Brownsville. And before the afternoon was over with, Harley came by where David was working. He said, hey, you want to go to Brownsville with me? Then we start thinking, oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. I know it's God. But see, how can I say this very nicely? You see, we want God to show us something, a sign, so that we'll know that we're supposed to do what we already know we were supposed to do. That was kind, wasn't it? We already know we're supposed to. Amen? And so, you see, he's saying, give me a sign. Jesus would have never told Peter one word, come, if he couldn't do it. And when he gave him the command, he supplied the strength for him to step out of the boat and step on top of the water and begin to walk on the water. The same voice that said, come, would enable him to do it. And he didn't need any other confirmation. He didn't need a sign from heaven. All he needed to do was come, because God's Son, Jesus Christ, said, come. You don't need a sign either. Just do it. The third thing I want to show you in this today is that the test came before the lesson. The test came before the lesson. Peter stepped out. Now, I'm going to tell you that's a big move for Peter. He stepped out. Now, the Bible does not say how long Peter walked on the water. And if we're not careful, we kind of just, he stepped out and he sunk. I don't know how long he was, but I tell you, now, first of all, remember what it said. When they saw him at a distance, they could not make out who he was. They thought he was a ghost, and he spoke to them, be of good courage, don't fear, it's me. And then they're responding, and Peter responds, if that's really you, if it is you, tell me to come to you. So he's at a distance. So I'm going to tell you, Peter walked a while on the water. He didn't just get out of the boat and sink. He walked on the water. I believe that he had to have walked a pretty good distance in the walking on the water. And because, in the beginning they couldn't see him. He wasn't close enough. And so then the Bible said the wind was against him. Why? Now he's feeling the wind blow against him as he's walking on the water. He's going to Jesus, and I believe that Jesus is walking toward him. I believe he's going faster than Jesus was going. And he started to notice the wind and the waves and stuff, and it was against him. The wind was against the disciples, but it was the wind that carried Jesus' voice to them and said, help is on the way. There might be some things that are against you today, and the wind is blowing against you. You've got resistance, but listen, in the resistance, you may hear his voice. Verse 22 said that immediately Jesus told the disciples, get in the boat, go to the other side. When Peter got out of the boat, the Bible said immediately when he began to sink. So I just personally, I believe he's been walking on the water a little bit, but he took his eyes off Jesus and he began to sink. And immediately when he started to sink, the Bible said immediately Jesus grabbed him. It doesn't say he fell immediately. And soon as he started to fall, immediately Jesus picked him up. Jesus said to Peter, and these are incredible words, you of little faith. Now, I pondered that and thought about that a little bit. I'm thinking, but Jesus, Peter said, if it is you, tell me to come. And Jesus said, come. And what does Peter do? He gets out of the boat. I don't think that was little faith, do you? So if that's considered little faith, I've got none at all. He stepped out of the boat. But let me help you with this verse this morning, because sometimes I think we read through things and just don't think about them. He said, O ye of little faith. The phrase does not refer to quantity, but to the quality. It's not how much faith, it's how far faith. Not how much, but how far faith will take you. Little faith doesn't mean that it's not strong. It just means it didn't sustain him. I got to confess to you, I've been there. I've been there when the faith was there, but it wasn't strong enough to sustain me, and I wanted to give up and quit. So then when I look at all of that, then what is big faith? There are 2 times in the New Testament that Jesus said he was amazed by faith. The first time was in his own hometown. He was amazed at the lack of faith. They had no faith in him because they were too familiar with him. This is an enemy of faith. We get so comfortable in our life, we don't want to do anything else. We're comfortable. You know why we're so uncomfortable right now? Because of this pandemic that's taken place. It's because we were comfortable in our lives the way they were. Matthew chapter 8, let me read this to you. Chapter 8, verse 5 through 10, a very familiar story. I never saw that till I saw this, then I saw this. In verse 5, when he had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him, pleading with him, Lord, my servant is lying home, paralyzed in terrible agony. He said to him, Am I to come and heal him? Lord, the centurion replied, I'm not worthy to have you come under my roof, but just say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I, too, am a man under authority, having soldiers under my command. I say to this one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes, and to my servant, do this, and he does it. Hearing this, Jesus was amazed and said to those following him, truly, I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with so great faith. This military official had a sick servant. The storm was not thundering and lightning, but it revolved around the sickness of his servant. Now Peter said, if it is you, tell me to come. Jesus asked the centurion, should I come to your house? And here's exactly what he said. You don't have to come, just say the word. Just say it. You don't got to come. You don't got to come, just say it. I believe the centurion was saying, Jesus, I know who you are. And you can just stay. All you have to do is speak the word from your lips, and it will be done. I've come to tell somebody today, it's fine. You can come. You can step out. You can come. But sometimes the greatest faith is when you stay. Because you trust the one who spoke the word over you. I'm talking about the Lord. When you know that he spoke to you. When you know that he said it to you, listen to me, because you can trust the one who spoke the word. He has authority over it all. You can stand on that. Yes, I know that we're facing storms right now like we have never faced before, and it seems like we have nowhere to go, and nothing's, and there's so much that we can only do, and there are not a lot of options going on in our lives right now. But when you stay, in spite of how you feel and what the circumstances are, no matter what, if you stand on what you know that God has said to stand on, God will bring you through it. There ain't no storm can stop you. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because Jesus told them, go to the other side. In other words, he gave them a word. What was that word? Go to the other side. And then what happened? The storm come up. They thought they were going to die. And now what is that out there? A ghost. We certainly are going to die now. They had the word. They had the word. All they had to do was stand on the word. See, I don't think anything about him walking on the water. I don't think what Jesus was saying, oh, ye of little faith. He wasn't talking about Peter walking on the water. Peter just took his eyes off the Lord, and that's why he was saying to all of them, I told you to go to the other side. You were going to make it no matter what resistance come up against you. I've come to tell you today, you are going to make it. If you will not stop, keep going, move forward. You're going to make it because he's told us to go to the other side. So let me ask you today, what if the wind, the resistance that you're facing right now is the proof that what is on the other side is worth going through the storm? Could it be that whatever it is you're going through, that see, things happen in our lives that will try to take the breath out of us. Things happen to us that make us want to just slow down and stop. Things happen to us that we don't understand and we can't control them. And what does it make us want to do? It makes us want to turn our back and run back the opposite direction. You never win by retreating. You win because you move forward. I don't know who you are today that's here today. Don't you quit yet. You're too close. You're too close. Don't quit. The resistance, I know it looks bad. Don't give up. Keep praying. Keep standing. Stand on the Word. When He gave His word is amen, and it will come to pass. Let me tell you something. Don't give up on that word and start looking for another word. Stand on that one word. Do not give up on that word. That word will come to pass. God will bring it through. What is He trying to teach you? He's trying to teach us to stand on the Word regardless of what our circumstances look like. Because what's on the other side? I've come to the conclusion that the harder the resistance, the better the blessing. The harder that the enemy fights at you, the better the blessing. And I've come to tell you, don't you give up this morning. Maybe you don't have the details. I don't know how to do it. That's all right. Just follow the directions. What were the directions to Peter? Come. I don't know what God is saying to you and what God has said to you, but I've come to tell you, what if I just keep moving forward? What if I keep just pressing on? What if I do nothing but stand on the Word of God? What if? But what if I turn around and go back? What if I give up and quit? What if I do this? What if I do that? What's going to happen? I've come to tell you today that no matter what you're going through, He may not give you details. He'll just give you some directions. See, details are different than directions. Details tells you every little intricate thing you need to know. Details. Someone here, you've already heard the Lord speak to you. And you've been pondering it, and you've been holding on to it, and you've just been saying, Lord, I need a sign, I need a sign. You've already got the sign. You know it. You know that God has placed that inside of you. You know it. You know it this morning. So if you're looking for a sign, I am. I'm that sign for you. You already know it. But then I also learned that sometimes there was the test before the lesson was ever taught to them. Is your faith sustainable? Is your faith sustainable? Is your faith strong enough to get you through to the end of whatever it is you're going through? Don't give up. Father, this morning, God, you're trying to get the attention of somebody that I'm talking to today. God, this morning, I don't know who it is that I'm speaking to, whether it's through the camera or someone here in the sanctuary today. God, I ask, would you help them with their faith, that it would be sustainable to get them through the resistance. Andy and I've told you this before, Andy and I decided, we got this great brainstorm that we were going to go camping. And we took the kayaks, and we had a double-seater, and he and I rode in it, and we pulled the single one that I had, and we put all of our stuff. And Andy and I, yes, I forgot that part. We went to the Everglades. We had a map, a compass, and we checked in at the ranger station, knew exactly where we were going. We were going to Rabbit Island, was only 5 miles, and a storm came up. And it rained so hard that we couldn't see from here to the camera in front of us. In the Everglades, because it is water, they have porta potties on stilts. And it was lightning so bad that we thought that we were probably going to get struck by lightning. It was so close. We decided maybe that the plastic porta potty might even be better than riding in the open water, but we got through the rain, and I'm looking at the map. We missed our turn, didn't know it because we couldn't see it, and we found a place that looked like on the map, and we turned. We were lost in the Everglades. We had no clue where we were. We'd 5 miles wasn't that far in a kayak, and now we've paddled all day, and we can't find anything on the map that even resembles, and we don't know which way to go back because we were going forward. And that we finally found an island that we could get off because we were in the mangroves, and we found an island, and it was getting late in the afternoon, and Andy and I set up our tent, built a fire, and we'd brought food we were going to stay a couple of days in the Everglades, and Andy wouldn't even hardly eat any supper. And I cooked really good on that open fire. He wouldn't hardly eat anything. And we had no idea where we were. But for me, I just was having a good time. We're out here. It's beautiful out here. We waited, and it got dark. And we took our fishing poles and went fishing in the dark. We had a good time, and then we went to bed. And the next morning, but in the middle of the night, about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, Andy turned his phone on. We knew it wouldn't work, but it pinged where we were. And he said, Dad, it says we're on something island. So now we've got the flashlight out, and I'm opening up this map, and we missed our Rabbit Island by 15 miles. And we were in the middle of nowhere. And so the next morning I got up, and we got up. I said, I'm going to cook us some breakfast. I'm really not hungry, Dad. I think we ought to pack up. We're lost, and how are we going to find our way back out? Because we went through a maze of mangroves, and we have no clue. And I said, let me tell you something, son. We're going to get out of here because, first of all, if we don't check out in 2 days, they will send the Coast Guard looking for us. And I am not going to be on television for every preacher that I know and my church folks knowing we got lost. And so I didn't know he wasn't eating because he was worried that we were going to be stranded and nobody would find us. So we started home, back in, and we finally made it through. And we got to a place, Andy said, I know this place. I recognize this place. Now, first of all, we went out of Chokoloskee with the tide going out. It was easy going out. I did not realize we started back in, we were going against the tide. Now, we're not talking about a little tide. When the tide come out of Chokoloskee, it's like 6 feet, 7 feet. I mean, it drops. It's like filling this room completely full of water and opening the doors and let it go. So we started, when we finally got to where we knew we were at, we couldn't even paddle forward with both of us doing it. So the thing was, is we could either give out, quit, or go backwards. At least I'd learn a little bit from a kayak. The only way we were going to get against that current we'd have to zigzag, go across like this. I'm telling you this today, we made it through the current coming out. And when Andy saw the bay, We were still 5 miles from the truck. I thought he was an electric motor. I kept telling him, we got 5 miles, slow down. I got to where I didn't even have to paddle. I mean, this boy was done paddling this boat. I mean, he's getting it. Now, we don't know how we got to where we was, because that is not where we went out from. We went out across the street on the other side of the road where we put our kayaks in. But Andy says, I know that's the road. And we were 5 miles from it because we had a GPS and it had marked our truck. That's all it marked. So Andy would not stop. He kept going, kept going, kept going, kept going. And when we get across to the road, we just had to carry the stuff across the street. There it was. Why am I telling you that? Somebody here you're struggling, going against the resistance. Just change your course. Change your course. Don't go straight in. Go sideways. Because what's on the other side is worth it. It's worth it. I'm telling somebody it's worth it. Don't give up now. Don't let the current push you backwards. Did Andy and I have to work hard? My arms were so sore the next day. We left there. When we got into Immokalee, we stopped at Burger King. I think we ordered everything on the menu. Andy did. He was starving. But on the other side was food. On the other side was the truck that was going to get us home. And we went by the ranger station and told them, said, we didn't tell them we had lost. We just told them, we had a good time and we decided we were going back home today. We didn't tell them we were lost. No need to tell them. Well, no need to tell nobody. I don't know why I'm stuck on this. But somebody, listen to me. If what you're doing this way is not working straight, zigzag. Zigzag. Let it go this way. Do that. Change your course. Do not change course and go backwards. Change your course to keep moving forward.